Black Americans are about 13 to 14% of the population.
Yes,
about half of all prisoners are Black.
Exactly.
So Blacks commit more crimes than whites do. They commit more murders, they commit more arsons, they commit more kidnappings. For example, Blacks are 13% of the population and they commit 58% of all the murders. That's not a war on drugs, that's a culture problem.
Okay, so let's talk about that culture. Black people have been legislatively subjugated up until 1965. I'll give it, I mean, honestly, it's later, but let's just say 1965. You do not think that 10 generations of legislative subjugation and slavery during that time, 4,000 Black men, women, and children are lynched as the result of race riots in this country? You do not think that these things have a lasting effect? We have had 10 generations of subjugation and 4 of legislative freedom.
Of course they have an impact, but it's more on you to explain why things got worse since the Civil Rights Act. More violent, less fathers around, poorer. Why is that? So,
because of mass incarceration and the unfair criminalization of Black men.
But let's just take murders, for example. Why Blacks are 13% of the population and commit 58% of the murders? Why is that?
Because people in affluent and whiter neighborhoods are not being policed at the same rate. There
Murders.
are more
Murders.
police.
I'm talking about dead bodies. There's no, like, we're not talking about policing, we're talking about murders. Why are so many Blacks committing murders outside of their population?
Okay, let's take it back to some history.
I'm curious for an answer to that question.
I'm going to give you one. So let's go to redlining. Okay, redlining.
Redlining
yes.
is why so many Blacks are killing each other?
No, let me finish my claim.
Okay.
And then you can respond. Is that okay? Okay, so redlining, federally mandated or sustained by the FHA, right? Separating Black Americans to specifically impoverished and relegated areas of the country. We are incapable of buying homes and putting equity into neighborhoods with lower crime rates and better educational systems. We do not have access to things that would uplift and help our community. When you are put in an environment that promotes and reinforces social and economic inequality, you become desperate and are forced to do things that maybe don't align with your values.
But what you're making an excuse for a
now,
lot of murder,
when you have
a lot of stealing,
a high concentration of a subjugated people in one area.
If you were right, when Blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today, they were less murderous, there was less break-ins. Why is that?
So I'm sorry, are you trying to say that Blacks thrive under subjugation?
No, I'm not. I'm saying I'm asking you the question. The data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed. They committed less crimes.
Maybe they were afraid. I mean, 4,000 Black men, women, and children were killed in violent lynch mobs.
That's your explanation, but I guess
racial terror permeated American culture for hundreds of years.
Black America is worse than it has been
that affected
in the last 80 years.
The generational psyche of an entire group of people?
No, I'm sure it did. I'm not discounting that. I'm just trying to understand, why is it the more social welfare we've done, so we've spent $20 trillion on uplifting Black communities, $20 trillion, and Black Americans are poor. We've done everything that's been asked.
You haven't done everything that's been asked, though.
Great society,
because what is being
stamps,
asked?
Subsidized housing, Medicaid, public schooling, subsidized college. We're talking about $20 trillion that has been spent on the Great Society, and yet Black America is poorer, more murderous, more dangerous. So there's an explanation. I'm asking you to explain that to me.
But we are not asking for handouts. We are asking for equity.
Hold on,
and part of
equity
what does
equity mean?
is
you mean taking from other people?
Excuse me, it means sharing.